And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases. MotleyRice.com. Driven Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com. Make sure that you've downloaded our app. There are so many cool things in it. Like, you can get awesome gear from Vintage Brand, one of our partners here at JB and Goldwater. As a matter of fact, if you pull up the app, you'll see their logo on the bottom. You don't have to be a Carolina fan. You can be a fan of anybody. They have vintage. It could be a pro team you pull for. You should see the awesome Green Bay Packers stuff they have on there. You should see the awesome Bulls stuff they have of when Jordan played. It is so cool. Make sure you've downloaded our app, and you can get some really neat swag and throwback vintage gear there. There is also a icon specifically for South Carolina. That's just kind of how they set it up for us. And so if you are a Gamecocks fan, it takes you right to it, right there on the JB and Goldwater app. Make sure you've downloaded it. It is free. Tell all your friends as well, and gear away. There's even things to hang in the office like Darren and I have here. I've got some stuff headed my way soon, so make sure you check that out. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater. The Share Healthcare chat lines are open and active, and we're going to get to a lot of your comments here in just a couple of minutes. We'll also get to Raphael Esparza coming up at 12:30 because it's going to be, I predict, a wild weekend of hoops, and he'll give us some betting lines, at least for the games that are playing today, and then we'll kind of march our way through Selection Sunday here in just a couple of days away. Hard to believe. Cory McCartney's ahead at 105. Major League Baseball does have a deal, and they're back to playing baseball. He's going to fill us in on all the details. I tried to keep up. I couldn't. So that's why we've invited him to come on, and he'll tell us all about that. We got some ball stuff we're going to try to get into as well. Clearly, the state of Carolina and the future of Carolina's basketball program is up on the docket here in just a minute after losing last night to Mississippi State in the SEC tournament, and much, much more. We'll keep you updated on what's going on in golf, and so on and so forth. First and foremost, Darren, it's about to start pouring rain, so good afternoon.
It's funny. You said what's going on in golf. That's exactly what's going on in golf. Last I checked, they were already in a weather delay. Some of the guys hadn't even finished their first round. That was delayed yesterday. Koepka's trying to get up there to the lead. He's at about 3, and the leaders, I think, are hanging out around 6, but not much going on with the golf. Insane day of college basketball yesterday. Plenty of games that bettors had no business winning or losing, and the games are just wild. They could probably be that way again today. There have been some massive line moves already today, like the overnight hours into the morning. I was kind of telling you about them. We'll get into some of those with Raphael. And my Lions are alive. They won't be after tonight, but the line jumped to 10.5. That's one of my early bets that I'm in on. 10.5 is way too much.
Yeah, I forgot to text you about that. I meant to do that. Yeah, they upset Ohio State yesterday. Mm-hmm. That was incredible. Yeah, a lot of. I mean, it's been this way already, as we've seen over the last week or so. March Madness is just amazing. I mean, I feel like there have been more game winners already through the last 10 days of March than I can remember ever. Just this far into the month, Darren, we haven't even gotten to the dance yet, and I feel like it's felt like the dance.
There's been so many wild swings, and it started yesterday with the Indiana Michigan game. Michigan's up $1 billion, and Indiana comes back and beats them. Texas is in control of that game the entire game, and then that thing flips. I mean, and that was the theme of the day. I think Syracuse and Duke, that was another one of them. I mean, a popular play there was the under. Not only the under, but Duke comfortably winning. That line swelled to 15. Syracuse had them most of the game. Duke comes back. They score 1,000 points combined. It was a wild day. There are a lot of people who didn't have a great day yesterday. I'm one of them, but I'm comfortable with the process still. So back at it again.
No kidding. It has been a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun today. The JB and Goldwater show on this Friday is brought to you in part by Ethan Lane with the Mortgage Network here in the Low Country. But if you need a mortgage anywhere, he's certified in North Carolina and Georgia and South Carolina. You can head to mortgagenetwork.com, mortgagenetwork.com, and look for Ethan Lane, who is the owner of the Mortgage Network here in the Low Country. He does outstanding work, and we certainly appreciate that. All right, to lead off our Fridays, is that the music already playing?
Yeah, I thought that's where you were going, so I started it. And
to lead off our Friday, the 2-minute drill, as we usually do. It is post or delayed right now in golf. Tommy Fleetwood is at the top of the leaderboard. As a matter of fact, there are 3 at the top of the Players Championship leaderboard at 6 under currently at the TPC at Sawgrass. Tommy Fleetwood, Tom Hogue, and Bryce Garnett. I don't know, but congratulations to him. He's leading early here on Friday. Selection shows this weekend, the 6 o'clock for the men's on Sunday on CBS, 8 o'clock for the ladies on Sunday on ESPN. And then we'll see what the NIT show brings at 9 o'clock on ESPNU Sunday night. Clearly, South Carolina lost last night. We're going to get to that here in just a little bit. The hoop slate for today is already underway. Indiana and Illinois are tied at 21 with about 7 minutes to go in the first half, and Texas A&M has an early 1-point lead on Auburn in the SEC tournament, 4-3. That game is only a couple of minutes into the ball game. The state baseball schedule this weekend, Texas, it's all moved around, so listen closely. Texas and South Carolina has been postponed from today. They will play tomorrow, and they'll double dip on Sunday. Tomorrow's first pitch is at 1 o'clock. The doubleheader will start at noon on Sunday. Xavier, who just took down the Gamecocks at Founders Park in the midweek, they're at Coastal. That game started at 11 o'clock this morning. I actually have not paid attention to the scoreboard, so I'll try to get a score to pass along to you there in just a minute. Northeastern is at Clemson this weekend, and that might sound unappealing to those that haven't kept up with Northeastern, who walked right into Raleigh, North Carolina last weekend and swept the NC State Wolfpack. This is the final non-con for the Tigers. While ACC play has opened, let me remind you that the ACC every year gives you an off weekend or a non-conference weekend. Clemson has taken that one at the front of the schedule, so they'll play 10 consecutive ACC series following this final non-con against Northeastern. UMass Lowell is at the College of Charleston. The Cougs have lost 5 in a row, and that includes losses at the hands of High Point and Pennsylvania. Not exactly baseball powerhouses. It's a doubleheader tomorrow at 11 to crank up the weekend because they got rained out today. Siena is at the Citadel. They got a double dip tomorrow as well, and then one on Sunday. The Dogs are off to a nice, cozy 8-4 start on the season. CSU is at 8-7. They'll host Canisius, so they've got a doubleheader tomorrow as well. Strange start to the year for Charleston Southern, Darren. They lost 4, then they won 8, and now they've lost 3 straight, 1 against Samford and 2 against Kansas in the midweek. The First Pitch Invitational, by the way, is being played at Floor Field this weekend. That's hosted by Michigan State? Yeah. Floor Field has done a nice job over the last few years in welcoming northern-type teams down south because, you know, it's hard to play baseball in Michigan in March. And so Michigan State, Cincinnati, Kansas, and Western Carolina will make up that 4-team field. And then here we go again. North Greenville. They are back in the top 25 at 22, 16-4 on the season. I know there's not a ton of Crusader baseball fans out there, but certainly worthy of pointing out where things stand. They've got Belmont Abbey this weekend. They've won 8 straight, and in those 8 straight wins for North Greenville, they've outscored opponents 95-34. Holy smokes. North Greenville is really good, coached by Landon Powell, of course. So that is your state baseball schedule this weekend, part of our 10-minute drill to open up on Friday. All right, the Share Healthcare chat lines. We go, Craig, about to buy my vintage hat. Does that hat stick up high, JB? I have a really small head. Well, I have a really big head. It's like the trucker style, so it does a little bit, but it actually it doesn't take long. It fades in fast. So I get it. It's comfortable. You'll like it. It'll be fine. I have to have the deep cut hats. It's not like crazy deep, but yeah, you'll like it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Jan, hey Jan, he says he scored 2 vintage pieces yesterday after receiving the notification the site was ready for orders. Thanks, you got it. And guys, spread the news because it's an awesome website, and we're happy to partner with those guys. And you don't have to be a Carolina fan. You can be a fan of anybody. They got all kinds of stuff there. So, all right, Rodney. Hey, guys, can't wait to hear your opinions today. Would be nice to call in. Yeah, we probably at some point in time should think about bringing back our phone lines. We haven't done it for a while because of the chat lines, but it sure would be nice from time to time to take a few minutes off and let y'all talk. So Darren and I will probably discuss that at some point as far as getting our phone lines back up if y'all would be interested in calling, and I'll make it easy. I'll just put a dial right in button on the app, and you can call in and talk to us. That'd be a lot of fun. Adam says, I'm not really a fire this guy, fire that guy type of person, but I came across a laughable comment last night. Someone argued that since Frank took USC to the Final Four, that he should be able to decide when to leave on his own accord just because of the Final Four. Like what? Yeah. It's interesting. Yes, Adam, we just saw Darren just sent me a message as well. 2-2, Xavier and Coastal in the bottom of the 4th inning up there in Conway. So we'll keep our eyes on that score as well. Yeah, look, man, Darren, it's the regular season, I guess, pretty much is now over. And according to DRatings.com, the Gamecocks have fallen out of the NIT field. They were a 5 seed going into the game last night. And currently they are not a seed because they're not in. There's one other NIT site out there that projects them, and usually it's pretty good. The name has escaped my mind. They still have Carolina in the field. Nonetheless, they're out of the SEC field. And last night, I actually thought going into halftime, I thought, yeah, they're here. They look good. They were playing fairly crisp basketball, a couple of bugaboos here and there, but overall, they were playing pretty well. And I thought they were going to come back in the second half, and this was going to be one of those nail-biter type games that we've seen all across the country. And it was the worst half of basketball you could imagine if you're South Carolina. They shot 13% from the floor. I mean, you can't get any worse than that, I don't think. They were 4 of 31. And I've never even seen it. So it was really bad. There's nothing that you can defend in the second half with what they did. It was bad. You do have to give Mississippi State a lot of credit. They deserve a lot of credit, but seemingly no adjustments made for the Gamecocks. They didn't rebound well. They got to a point where they had even lost, kind of had a lack of hustle. It almost looked like they had lost. I texted my cousin with about 10 minutes to go. I said, I don't even know that they're playing hard. It just didn't seem that way.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. Maybe they were. I mean, it just what it looked like, and it didn't look. Something looked off, and you could feel it, and so it was horrible. And Carolina finishes at 18-13, and they'll wait the postseason announcements on Sunday night to see if they can luck up and play some type of postseason basketball, Darren. But that's not what anybody's talking about. At this point in time, people care less about playing in the NIT. They want to know what the future of the head coach looks like. And that's largely what the conversation is going to be until either a decision is announced or I guess you wouldn't really announce a decision if you're going to keep your coach, but we'll just have to find out.
Well, I'll lean on something Sapokov said yesterday, and he's right. There's been nothing public from anyone, at least that I've seen, that he's seen in support. Not at all through any of this, through his comments publicly. It leads me to believe what I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, that I think behind the scenes there isn't a whole lot of support. That's my belief. They did look disinterested yesterday in the second half. It did look like this team had a feeling of there it goes again, and that's it. And there was a point that was kind of evident when it was, look, they're disinterested. I think that was the word you just used, and that's exactly what it felt like. I texted you this morning. I'm not a fire this guy, fire that guy either. And that's not where I'm going with this at all. I said this yesterday, and I'll repeat it now. I think I said it the day before as well, that it comes a point when it could be better for both sides to part ways and mutually beneficial for both. I believe they're at that point. I don't think there's nothing that would happen here in the NIT that would change my mind. That's the feeling I have for the team. If a recruit comes in and guys stay, those pieces aren't something that I'm confident can suddenly vault this team to another stratosphere. Could it? Yeah. I mean, he could be everything. This recruit, GG, right? He could be everything he's supposed to be, and he could be the next great thing. And then, okay, then what? This has been spinning its wheels for a long time now. And how much time can it just keep spinning when there isn't much comfort behind the scenes and there's no level of comfort or support going forward? It just, where I settle down on this is, look, you have a sense of what it's been for the tenure. There's been a lot of good, and there's been a lot of inconsistency, and there's been a lot of this conversation, particularly the last couple of years. So if that's a known, if that's probably the way it continues to be, I'd rather roll the dice on an unknown and say, hey, you know what? Maybe there's something else. I think it's better for both. I think he'll land on his feet. He's a good basketball coach. I'm not making the decision, and I'm not a South Carolina fan, but I think it's better for him. I think it's better for the university.
Yeah. I see Ed's comment. Hey, Ed, hope you're having a good Friday, and hope you have a great weekend. But does anybody really want to play in the NIT? It's always such an interesting question. I feel like the NIT is like is college basketball rehab. You know what I mean? And here's what I mean by that. Like, if you're a program that's trying to get things turned around, like you fired a new coach and you hadn't been any good for the last couple of years, but you get into the NIT. Oh, you're excited. It's kind of a step in the right direction. Or you have a bad year or two, and you're kind of getting things going again. It's like a rehab facility for your basketball team. Like, hey, all right, we're headed back in the right direction.
And then like rehab, you fall back into the NIT.
Yeah, exactly. Like, rehab's not somewhere you really want to live or spend a lot of time. It's just a place that you need it every once in a while. You know what I mean? It's there for you. Craig, that's gross. I'm not even going to read that for those that are listening to this program. So, look, if I tweeted this morning a poll question, your South Carolina basketball is headed in the right direction, headed in the wrong direction, or it's stuck in neutral. And largely, I'd have to go back and look at it. I haven't looked at it in a little while, but largely the votes on that, and I don't do a lot of polls, were that it was stuck in neutral. So, I look at that if somebody asks that type of question, which I'm the one that asked the question today, Darren, it's 101 votes, 68% say stuck in neutral. So basically 68 people say that, of the 101 votes that the Gamecocks are stuck in neutral. If you're going in the right direction, you don't make a move.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going in the wrong direction, clearly depending kind of where things are, which at this point in time is 5 years removed from a Final Four berth, you make a move. If you're stuck in neutral, then there's a deep dive, in my opinion, and you got to figure out why are we stuck in neutral? Is it the coach? Is it the coach and something else? Whatever that is. And then you need to decide, okay, how do I get out of neutral? Is it by making a change with my head coach? Is it by, we need to support him or her better in this way or that way. You know, what do you find? And a lot of times these coaches will do these fact-finding missions, and they will find that firing a coach maybe is fifth on the list as opposed to what they thought it was once they kind of do their research. And I'm not saying that's the case here at all. I'm just saying the way that I think about what the next steps. I am 150 million% confident the Coach Tanner has been preparing for what is next. I know he's been preparing for it. He has been doing this for a while. You know, if he needs to make a move, who is he targeting? What is he going to do? If he doesn't make a move, what does he want to see change? And where's the program going to go from there? And things like that. I'll say this, Darren, and because I don't know what the right answer is. It seems to feel like a move is probably coming, but I could be dead wrong on that. I used to be like, we still don't have the right answer as to what is wrong at South Carolina, because all these coaches have had successful careers and they get to Carolina and they just can't sustain anything. So I think there is a deeper problem with Gamecock basketball personally. Okay. And regardless of what happens with Coach Martin, that question still needs to be answered somewhere. In saying all of that, there used to be a fear, and there probably still is by many, and I get it. I'm fearful that when you fire a coach, all right, let me give a scenario here. Let me give a scenario. Let's say that things are trending this way right now, currently, from what I understand, that Jermaine Cousinard and Eric Stevenson return, and GG Jackson commits, and Bryce Lindsey's already coming, and all of a sudden you look and you go, man, there's gonna be a bunch of talent returns. Josh Gray, who's already transferred in, you gotta like that kid. And Devin Carter comes back, and you go, "Oh, that's a really good nucleus, right?" And then there's
an average nucleus.
Well, I disagree with that.
That's my fear, because we don't know about Gigi, and we have an idea. Cousinard would be a solid role player on most SEC teams. He's not a star. Stevenson certainly not a star. Certainly he's a role player on most SEC teams, good teams around the country. He's fighting for playing time. Josh Gray, we'll see what he can become. And we don't know the exact impact of GG Jackson. I agree with Will when it comes to that, like projecting out. It feels like some out, some in. It's the same process, same thing that's been going on here.
Yeah, well, and I'm kind of getting to that. I mean, I'll disagree with you a little bit. I do like this nucleus of talent, and it's a hell of a lot better than what he inherited and what he had his first couple of years. I mean, those kids, everybody wanted Devin Carter, the Gray kid when he was in the portal. A lot of people wanted that cat. Auburn wanted him. Tennessee wanted him. I mean, he's good, and he's going to be. He's just young. He's a freshman, and things. But the point is, I'm just playing the scenario out here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fear amongst many in the fan base that if you make the change, all these guys are going to transfer, and that might be true.
Mm-hmm.
Might be true. Okay, and I'm not saying that they are or are not replaceable, but what I am saying is, I don't know that in this day and age that you can be fearful of that anymore, because turnarounds come quicker than they used to because of the world we live in, the transfer portal. I mean, look at Alabama, look at Auburn. Those aren't traditional basketball powers. Neither is Tennessee. I mean, look at A&M, and they've been able to get this thing turned around in a year or two. So if you feel it's in your best interest to make a coaching change, and Darren, I think you texted me this morning, and I agree with you. I don't think that there should be consideration, but it shouldn't be a heavy hand of consideration as to, well, what happens with the roster, because roster is going to turn over anyways in basketball. Frank's already hit the nail on the head. Last year, every team in the country averaged 6 players that were transferring out. 6. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. It's not exclusive to South Carolina. It's a joke. We don't need that in this sport. They got to fix the problem, but that problem's not going to be fixed. So it's going to be there no matter who the coach is. So, in saying that, I don't put as much emphasis on what happens with the roster as I do as to, do you have the right coach or not? Should it be considered when you got the number 1 player in the country looking at your school? There should probably be some consideration, but I'm not sure that it's as much as some people want it to be.
Yeah, and I've said that throughout this conversation as it centers around GG Jackson. I'm very uncomfortable tying a coach's career tenure to whether he gets a recruit or a couple of recruits. That to me is a very uncomfortable, unfair, and very much up in the air type question, because what if he comes in and gets hurt? What if he, right? I mean, we've seen that happen many, many times. What if he comes in and takes a little while to kind of acclimate to college life, even though he's from the area? That shouldn't be much of a concern. But there are lots of different things that can potentially go great and wrong with a 17, 18-year-old freshman kid. You just don't know how it's all going to go. So I'm not comfortable doing that. I've said many times in this day and age in particular, and even not in this day and age, it's easier to turn around a basketball program and kind of kickstart it than it is in a lot of other sports in college athletics. So if there is some turnover, okay, that's to be expected. But in this day and age, if you can't go win in the transfer portal, you can't win anyway. So if there's turnover on your roster, then okay, let's go. Let's get going early and let's see what you can do, because that's part of this job right now. It is a massive part of being a college basketball coach right now. So if the question is, you have a sense of where you are, and you have a sense, even to me, one of the biggest problems is the relationship that's there. In Gene Sapakov's words yesterday, it's clearly a fractured relationship. I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist on the outside to look at that and say, yeah, obviously. So how do you move forward on solid ground? I don't know. It didn't feel like they moved forward on solid ground this year. That was relatively uncomfortable. How do you do it again next year? That's why I don't think it's fair for either side. I think both could benefit from a breath of fresh air, a fresh landing spot, and a fresh start for both. That and take your chances with that, because it is possible to bring in someone and have a very different looking team and a different level of success quick. That's possible.
Well, number one, McKenzie just committed a terrible sin. It's Jimmy Chitwood with a T, not Chipwood. McKenzie, come on, get it right. Yeah, I tell you what's not going to happen. There's not going to be – I will be stunned if there is a quote-unquote mutual parting ways, because that means Frank Martin didn't get paid $3 million. And if I'm Frank Martin, I ain't mutually parting ways with nobody. You're going to have to fire me and give me my cash on the way out the door. I love you. I respect you, but it's in the contract, and I want my money. So
I agree with that part.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to say, well, you're right. Now, if there was no buyout, I don't know, maybe it could happen. And another thing I'll add to, Darren, and this is kind of minuscule, but folks who throw the argument out there of 1 in 10, can we stop with that crap? He's not going to, if he gets fired, he's not getting fired because he made one tournament in 10 years. He's getting fired because of what happened since they went to the Final Four. That's it. There is no other conversation to be had. And I'll tell you why. Because if he went to the dance every single year from year one through the Final Four and hasn't gone since, we'd be in the same exact spot. The 1 in 10 is just a talking point to support your argument as to why you should fire him. He is not going to get fired for missing the tournament before he went to the Final Four. If he gets fired, it's because this program has been stuck in neutral, or at least first or second gear, since they thought, oh my God, we went to the Final Four. Like, no, we're not going to be in the Final Four every year. It might never be again, but this team, we figured it out. We're going to be back in, we're going to see some tournaments in the future. That's why he's going to be canned, not because of 1 in 10. So if that argument's in your arsenal, get rid of it. It's not true. That is not true. What do you think happens, Darren?
I think there's a resolution sooner rather than later. I think you hear something either way, and I think it's sooner rather than later, because it just can't. I don't expect it to drag out much longer. That's what I think. I do think there is well, as you put it, it won't be mutual, at least from a vocal standpoint. But if he's paid to walk away, I think he can look himself in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm comfortable with the job that I did. I'm comfortable with how we performed through whatever adversity we faced. And I'm comfortable taking my money and landing on my feet somewhere else and trying to build something else. A fresh start. A fresh start is good. That's where I think it goes.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in make these decisions when the season is over. And I don't know if we will we're not going to know whether the season's over or not until Sunday night.
Yes, I agree with that. It won't, if there's an NIT, if there's postseason, nothing before that's done.
No, and that being said, and again, I think, I like you've heard me 1,000 times. I'm a big believer. Do it at the end of the year. Coach Tanner did not do that with Coach Muschamp, obviously. I'm also kind of in the camp here where if you're gonna do it, even if you go to the NIT, just do it. Let's cut it loose and move on. Now there's
like Georgia did before the SEC.
Yeah, you cut it loose and move on. I mean, of course, if you get to April 1st, Darren, you're significantly decreasing the buyout as well. So you are going to save some money. And I don't know the financial books at the University of South Carolina. That might be something that they have to do. I don't know. I don't know that answer. But if you don't have to, and you can negotiate or something like that, and there's a possibility, and this is the decision that you're going to make anyways, then do it.
Mm-hmm.
Then do it. Now, I don't know that guarantees that you're going to get ahead of the game and finding your next coach or anything like that. I don't think it does at all. But just for the sake of the program and the coach and the players, make the decision so they all have time to make their decisions as well on their future.
Yeah, that's why I think it's a sooner than later thing. Yeah.
I would agree with that. Tough night. I mean, that was I'll say this, on a scale of 1 to 10, as far as the second half goes, it was a negative 500. I mean, I came back down, and I'll just say that I quit watching for a while. I went upstairs and read with my kids, and I said, this is awful.
It's been a bad week for Gamecock fans. Like, going back to last Friday, it's been a bad week.
Yeah, it was tough. No doubt. All right, 12:32 on a pretty gloomy Friday afternoon. A lot of rain headed to the area. So everybody be careful out there. Raphael Esparza with MyBookie.ag is up next. Hang tight. We'll be right back.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about: stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations: Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. for all your football, college, and NFL. The Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
The JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
I'm gonna keep on the run. I'm gonna have me some fun. It cost me my very last dime.
12:35. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, presented by Motley Rice, and today brought to you in part by Ethan Lane with the Mortgage Network here in the Low Country. If you need a mortgage or you know somebody that does, he is super. Ethan Lane. Make sure you head to mortgagenetwork.com. They're so good at what they do. All right, to Vegas we go. It's your time of the year. You're not sleeping much, are you? Raphael Esparza with my bookie. Hey, man.
How's it going, gentlemen?
I can only imagine how much fun you're having. By the way, anybody check the scoreboard? A&M's got a 9-point lead on Auburn with 6 minutes to go in the first half. Matter of fact, Auburn with 6 minutes to go in the first half has 13 points.
So if it's like yesterday at all, A&M's going to build a huge lead, and Auburn's going to come storming back and win either in overtime or by 1 or 2.
That A&M Florida game was good yesterday. That was fun. I watched that when we got off the air, and I don't know, man. Some teams, A&M and Vandy, they were two teams when you came into the tournament. They're like, they kind of have it figured out. Here they are, quarterfinals. Raphael.
Love to see A&M pull off the upset. So there's another SEC team that won't see a 2 seed or a 1 seed, and I'll laugh. So,
well, look, we can jump right into it because that is part of our buy or sell presented by Jeff McCarriger here. And
you like that leeway I did? That was a great leeway for
well
me.
Done.
Yeah, that's well done, Jeff. Obviously, if you need to buy or sell your house, Carolina1.com. Jeff McCarriger. You can find him in his email. So part of this right here is, will the SEC grab a number 1 seed? Right now, it's certainly questionable. It's possible, but if Auburn goes down, they're not getting a number 1 seed.
Yeah, if they go, because I would think Kentucky would be the only team that I think could get one. I mean, I think the only number 1 team that could be on a bubble, maybe Arizona, a bad injury that they received yesterday, so that might shorten them up. I think what Gonzaga's already done. I still think Kansas and Baylor will probably grab one. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, if Auburn goes down, they're wiped out. Kentucky could still go up 1. Duke can grab 1. I think if Arizona loses, I still think they get one, because I think the committee will look at that loss and say, hey, you know what? It depends if they get blown out or if it's a close game. I still think they give one to Arizona, even if they don't win the Pac-12, because that injury yesterday could be one of the main reasons why they might lose in the Pac-12 tournament.
Riddle me this. How is Xavier still in the field, Raphael?
It's good. It's a good question.
I don't think they are. Lenardi has
they are,
but a lot of folks don't, and I don't think they will be at the end.
I agree. I think we should still see someone pulling off an upset and winning their conference tournament that maybe wasn't in, and they're on the. Yeah, with Wake Forest losing, I think if Indiana goes down today, even though they're only down by 1, they might be out. I'm torn on why Xavier and Indiana are still even last 4 in or around that area. I'd rather have Virginia Tech, who's been playing some good ball, in before I would put Xavier and Indiana. Even Oklahoma, I would probably want to put them in before I would put IU and Wake Forest.
You know, if North Texas loses to Louisiana Tech, that's a team like I don't know, but I mean they deserve to be in over a team like Xavier or like Wake.
Yeah, could be in. Like I said, it could be very interesting. Or let's say maybe Morgan State wins the Mideastern. They're still around. That will wipe out a spot. So even though these. I hate to say jokers with their bracketology and who's in, who's out, stuff like that. There's still a lot of stuff that could be played out the next couple of days.
Well, I mean, I feel like we should hold off on Indiana just yet. as to whether they should be in or out. I mean, they're 2 points down right now at halftime to Illinois. And Raphael, if they get that, they get to 20 wins or 20-12 with another quad one. That secures them, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I just like to see them in because I can see the candy cane pants.
All right, fair enough. MyBookie.ag is where you can win some money. We hope you'll win some money. It has been just kind of offhand here before we get into some of the lines and spreads. What's going on out there? Because this has already been wacky. We haven't gotten to the dance, and the last 10 days have been wild. I mean, buzzer beaters left and right, upsets all over the place. What's it been like in Vegas?
I want to give the middle finger to the NFL and the middle finger to baseball. Because, everyone's, buzzer beaters, Virginia Tech, Crampon wins by last second 3, all these great games. But, you know what? Let's Aaron Rodgers stay. Let's trade Russell Wilson to Denver. Let's send people packing to Washington. Oh, let's end the baseball lockout. Yay, let's do that. So now I have to do odds on all these other stuff for baseball. Oh, you know what? Conference tournament's still going on. Oh, you know what? Sunday's the brackets. Hey, let's do gas price odds because everyone's looking at their gas tank. Don't know if they should bend over and smile or just bend over and take it. So, it's been a nice couple of days.
They want you to sleep. They want you to bend over and smile while you're taking it, Raphael. Have you figured that out?
I've been telling people now this is the time where you go to the gas station and get the sushi because no matter what, your butt's gonna hurt.
Gross. I do not support that advice. No.
God,
I highly recommend that.
Him and Craig talking about kissing his sister are killing me here in this opening hour of our program. All right, Raphael, let's look at some of the lines today in hoops. I hope nobody looks at any college basketball slate anymore and tries to figure out whether it's a good one or a bad one. They're all good now. There is no bad college basketball slate that's out there. You mentioned the Mean Green of North Texas, 3.5-point favorites over La Tech. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, here's an interesting one. It can go both ways on this one because I like the way La Tech's been playing. Their bench has been giving them some quality minutes and some quality points. So here's another one. It's a toss-up. And like I said, I know we're going to talk to other ones, but like I said, there's so many good games. Southeast Louisiana, New Orleans, Nicholls State could be punching a ticket in. Like I said, Morgan State can easily win the Mid-Eastern Atlantic Conference. I know we're all going to dissect the SEC and Big 12 and Big 10 and all that, but there's some really, really good late basketball when you guys are reading stories to your kids or giving quality time to the misses. There's some really, really, really good late basketball. Big West Conference should be fun with a good one tonight with the Titans and Rainbows.
Yeah.
We'll get to the SEC, but and the North Texas lines already moved like 3 points. I have a question with a game that's coming up, I think in an hour, 2, St. Louis and St. Bonaventure. St. Bonaventure won the game both this year. The line opened with St. Louis favored and quickly flipped to Bonaventure. Where are you on that game?
I thought the under was a little bit of good play when the total was 139. No more value at 135 because I think if the Billikens want to win this one, they need to play Billikens defense. Low pace, half court game. They do. If it's a high scoring game, I don't think they match up well with the Bonnies. It all depends on who's going to get the tempo first and who's going to control the tempos. I'm leaning towards the Billikens, not because I think they have the greatest nickname and logo, but I think defense wins this game. I think the Billikens pull it off. I'm glad that the number switched. Like I said, we have about an hour. If I can get +2, I can guarantee you I think the Billikens could be a play.
Are the Bonnies, do they need to win the A-10 to get in?
Yes, because the A-10's been awful this year.
Okay. All right.
They need help. Dayton needs help.
A-10 stands for awful.
It's true. It's unfortunate, and it's true.
I don't believe, and I could be wrong here, guys, so correct me if I am, but I'm pretty sure there are no finals being played today. Tomorrow and Sunday are all the finals. Matter of fact, tomorrow, the America East, the MEAC, the MAAC, that's the Metro, or God.
Mid-American Athletic.
Mid-American, yeah, thank you. Mid-American Athletic. Mountain West, the SWAC, the Big 12, the Big East, the MAC, the Big Sky, Conference USA, the ACC, the Southland, the WAC, and the Big West. And then Sunday, Ivy, A10, AAC, Big Ten, SEC. Big Ten always, I think, finishes last right before the Selection Sunday show comes on.
Yep.
All right. And then there's a couple of interesting teams out there like TCU, Raphael. They've got Kansas tonight at 7:00. They're 8.5-point dogs. The over-under's at 139, but TCU's in, right? They don't need this.
I think they're in. I think like I've seen a couple people have them between 8-9, 8-9, 8-9. So they're in. A great game the other day they played. This could be an interesting one. Like I said, these 2 seeds, I think teams Kansas, Kentucky, did I think now with Auburn struggling and all that, and maybe with the Arizona injury and stuff like that, there's probably a good small handful of teams seeing that they can bump up a seed and get a better place to go play East, West, or something like that. I see a lot of these big schools like Kansas flexing their muscles, and I would not be shocked if they win by double digits.
Yeah, that was my next question, because Lenardi's latest, as of 3 hours ago, has Kansas back on the 1 line. But if they don't win the Big 12 tournament, I'm not saying lose today. If they don't win the Big 12 tournament, would they fall to the 2 line? I guess that's still TBD based on what happens probably in the SEC.
Yeah, I would think so. If Kentucky dominates and looks really impressive, I would not be shocked if they jump Kansas if they're still left, pending if Auburn wins today.
Okay, all right. Raphael Esparza, 1246 on the JB and Goldwater show with mybookie.ag, where you can go place your bets, and hopefully you'll do better than our friend Craig has done. What is the one? And there's so many of them. I mean, I'm looking at UConn, Villanova. There's a bunch of stuff out there that we want to get to, but what is the one that is continuing to stick in your mind today?
Man, that's a hard question because there's a lot of good games today, and I don't want to be biased on just the West Coast and stuff like that. But again, Mountain West probably going to have 4 teams, and if you're anybody in the Mountain West or anybody in the tournament, do you really want to play an experience? And I'm talking experience. San Diego State in the tournament, their style of play bothers me. So their style of play was the style of play that UVA stole from them. You remember, back in the day, UVA wasn't a boring game or a boring team. San Diego State's been playing this type of ball for the past 20, 30 years. So I think that's going to be a very interesting game, playing Colorado State. And again, you guys who are watching us right now, take a nap, read the stories quicker in bed because it's a late start. This one's going to be a really good one. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then the Battle of California, USC, UCLA, because again, I think Arizona has a huge question mark with that injury yesterday. I'm shocked that number is 10 today with the Wildcats.
David, we can't turn on the Auburn-Texas A&M game because we have no rights to that game. We would be suspended in a hurry. From by the SEC.
That's what I'm multitasking.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the SEC. I want to hit those 2 Mountain West games though, because the lines there with San Diego State, that's moved. The Colorado State line, that's now what, in favor of San Diego State there,
1.5
and Wyoming. So what are we thinking there?
I've been a big fan of the Cowboys, especially as of late. I think they're charging well, they're playing well. I mean, a couple of hiccups late, but here's another experienced team. Their front court can match up with anyone, not just in a conference. But I'm talking in a bracket. So I like the Cowboys. Anybody that dresses like UPS, what can Brown do for you? I'm always
easy.
Wyoming. And then again, it's hard to beat San Diego State. I've been in the Mountain West tournament countless times, and I bet against San Diego State, and all they do is just play their type of ball. Got to meet Kawhi Leonard. I actually made him laugh, so I wish I would have had a recording of that, but cell phones wasn't popular back then. So, but I think that one's going to be interesting. I like both starting off dogs. I like San Diego State. I grabbed a +1 early, and I grabbed. I'm going to grab Wyoming at plus money.
All right, let me ask you this: what needs to happen between those 2 games? Because San Diego State and Colorado State are playing tonight. They've got it listed at 11:59, of course, but midnight. And then at 9:30, you got Wyoming and Boise State. What needs to happen in these 2 games for all 4 teams to get in?
I think all 4 teams are in this one. I would not be shocked if all 4 of them get in. I think if there's one that's maybe on the borderline, I think it's Wyoming. I think if Wyoming, let's say, gets blown out by Boise, then maybe that won't look as well. I think Briari has them last 4 in. But if they win this game, then I think they're 100% in. But I think if they get blown out, then I think we might only see 3 teams in. I think they're going to suffer if there's any big upsets in tomorrow or Sunday, or if someone grab it in. I think Mountain West and the WCC might be the ones that suffer.
Okay, so according to Lenardi here, he's got Boise as an AQ at 7 in Greenville, as a matter of fact. He's got San Diego State as a 9 in Portland, but not as an AQ. So obviously that would be winning the tournament. And then Wyoming as one of the last 4 in currently, alongside Wake Forest and Xavier. Golly. And then who am I missing? Who are we missing here? San Diego State, right? I said San Diego State. Wyoming, Boise.
Colorado State.
Oh, Colorado State. Yeah, they are. Boise State is a 7. I said that, right? Colorado State is a 7 in Milwaukee. Okay, so yeah, he's got all 4 of them in right now.
Mm-hmm.
Has that ever happened? Has Mountain West ever had?
Yeah, it's happened once, and all 4 teams lost the opening 2 days.
I don't think that would happen this time.
No, I don't think so either. But the committee and people still remember those days. So it's
Okay. All right. How about way out west? A 6-point spread in favor of UCLA. They're playing Southern Cal tonight at 11:30.
Yeah, this one's going to be a fantastic game. I think it's going to be a dead under game, an ugly type defensive game. I had UCLA over yesterday, but barely beat that. UCLA's defense kind of fell asleep in the late second half. I like USC to cover this one, but I think UCLA wins in a tight one. So I'll take the plus points. But again, here's another one. Wait, public always likes to bet UCLA in basketball. So you might be able to get a better number on the Trojans, maybe get 6.5. I don't think 7 will come out, but I would say wait. You always want to wait before you put money on Trojan.
Is Virginia Tech primed for another upset tonight? They took down second seed in Notre Dame yesterday. They've got the North Carolina Tar Heels at 9:30.
I say no. I had a YouTube video today. I like North Carolina in this spot. I was really impressed at how they played with all the noise at Duke, manhandling them. I just think they got the better talent. And if it's a high-scoring game, I just don't think Virginia Tech can go toe-to-toe with them. No, not just one guy will cramp up. I think the whole starting 5 of Tech will cramp up if it's a high-scoring game. I like North Carolina to win. I don't want to say easily, but I think they have no problem covering tonight.
All right, so something happened yesterday. Oklahoma's upset got them into the first 4 out category, at least for Lenardi. So they're knocking on the door. They're not in, and they're going to need to continue to win to get in. And it would start tonight by beating Texas Tech. They're 7.5-point dogs in this ball game. If your thoughts, first of all, on the spread, but if they pull the upset of the Red Raiders, does that put them in the field? They're 18-14.
They might bump. Let's say if Indiana loses. Let's say if Wyoming gets blown out today, and then let's say Oklahoma gets that big win against Texas Tech, and let's say maybe they keep the game close against Kansas. Then I think they jump ship over Wyoming and Indiana. So I would say especially Wyoming, just because I think the Big 12 was a tougher conference than the Mountain West, and it's going to be a big, nice win against Texas Tech. And let's say if they keep the game close against Kansas.
So Wyoming needs to pull for Texas Tech, is what you're saying in that game.
Yes, if you're Wyoming, Indiana's right now or stuff like that. If your game's late and some of your teams that are behind you in the bubble or right next to you looking inside in, you're not rooting for them.
Okay, all right, fair enough. What about Colorado and Arizona? I think it's a 9.5 points in favor of Arizona. The over/under, wow, 149.
These are one of the games where you just don't know what the mindset of Arizona is going to come off. Seeing one of their leaders, not just scoring leaders, but a mental leader in a locker room and in huddles when he got carried off yesterday. Yep. How are they going to bounce back on that one? So it's either Colorado plus the points, which you already missed the best number, or just sit back and watch it. Like I said, you guys know me. I've been saying Purdue was going to cut down the nets many months ago. They were my pick. And I think Arizona has they were kind of jumping in right now, but that injury's huge. So I'm going to sit back and watch this one. I think it's either Colorado, but again, you missed the best number, or just sit back and see what the mindset of the Arizona comes in.
I used to be with you with Purdue. I'm no longer with you with Purdue, and I love Penn State at 10.5 tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great number. I thought it was way too high. I think I made my number like 8, 9. So when I thought 10 would be a little bit too much. But then when I moved to 10.5, like really? So
that's when I jumped into.
The Lions is a good play tonight.
Colorado is. I didn't miss anything, right? They're not in. They've got a lot of work to do.
No.
Okay. All right. 21-10. I know that they've faded a little bit, haven't they? At what point in time they were kind of in the field, weren't they, or in the mix?
Yeah, they were almost like what LSU was. Dominated a bunch of puny schools, and then they showed their true colors when better talent came in.
That's a good segue to the LSU Arkansas game.
Yeah.
That line's moved 3 points, Raphael.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Arkansas as of late. I disrespected them in football, and they made me eat crow. I disrespected them in basketball early, and I've had to eat crow. So I'm late on their bandwagon. I like Arkansas on this one. I think they just have the better bench. I know LSU is more athletic, but I just think team basketball, if it's like that, and if Arkansas control the boards, they win that game.
Does the over-under is 140? I just feel like there's going to be more points than that.
Well, it's if LSU is controls the boards and their athletics, it's always rubs off on their defense, not their offense. If that's the case, then this one stays under.
Okay, all right. Also in the SEC, Mississippi State, who embarrassed South Carolina in the second half last night, they're 8-point dogs against Tennessee. The over-under in this one is 130.5, down a little bit there. Not expecting a ton of points in the ball game, but we know what both teams present defensively. Raphael, can State cover that 8.5?
I think they can. It should be an interesting matchup on this one. I think Tennessee is playing in the right direction. Again, here's another one. Just the two different styles, especially in the second half. Who's going to be able to make those adjustments? I think Tennessee wins this one. But I agree with you in your last segment before I jumped on. It's been a bad week for you, South Carolina sports.
I appreciate that. It means a lot. glad that you're paying attention.
He's thinking about you.
There's some things, Raphael, that I've picked up from you over the years, and two of those things are you don't bet against Alabama and you don't bet against Tom Brady. You've said that a lot. Do you ever bet against Kentucky in the SEC tournament?
Oh yeah, I mean
they lost their last 2 games in the SEC tournament.
Yeah, Kentucky's a very into. I mean,
they were good last year though.
Normally, when they win games by double digits and cover, they come back and they don't. So yeah, it's.
So did they cover the 10.5 today against
There's really no college basketball team that I will say like I've done with Alabama and football and Tom Brady and stuff like that. And same thing with baseball. There's no team that I say you don't bet with them or bet against them and stuff like that. Maybe this year you don't bet my Cubs because they're going to be – we're no longer in first place as of April 7th.
UConn's 2.5-point dogs against Villanova.
A lot of points be scored in this one. I like Nova in this one. I think they're going to be able to control their pace, and that's why this one goes over. But I like Nova and a total to go over.
Over 131.5 is what you got there. Duke and Miami, 148 is the over-under in this game. Duke's a 9-point favorite.
No opinion on the total. I think that number is tad high. I would probably look at Miami plus the points. I think Duke wins, but I see them winning by 6-7.
What about Michigan State and Wisconsin? Michigan State is a 3-point dog.
I was high on Wisconsin coming in. Then they go to Nebraska and they lose. I mean, that was just a horrible, horrible loss. I think Wisconsin wins this game, but it would not be shocked if it's late free throws and win by 1. I'm more, like I said, I think the 8 o'clock game between Purdue and Penn State is going to be the best one of the evening in that conference. I think that number is just way too high. And Penn State can easily win that game.
Anything at all that Wisconsin can do to get back into consideration for a 1 seed?
No, I think the committee saw that loss to Nebraska. And even if Duke loses today, I think they'll probably put Duke at number 1 before they put Wisconsin number 1.
All right. I don't know if we've missed anything. Have we missed anything?
There are a lot of games, so it depends. Did we do Iowa Rutgers?
I think the way if Iowa plays like they did yesterday, putting up a century mark.
Well, yeah.
Rutgers has no shot.
No, that's true.
What, they shoot 45%, I think, from 3-point land. So
it was really, yesterday was a great day to live bet the team that was losing by $1 million. Except if you're me and you live bet Northwestern down by $1 million and they lost by $1.5 million. Thanks.
$1.5 million. Huh. I'm
Yeah.
trying to find there it is. 3:00 today on the CBS Sports Network, UAB and Middle Tennessee State, the Red Raiders. I mean, I've seen UAB play this year. Andy Kennedy has the Blazers, and they do have a good basketball program. Obviously, they're in the NIT now, but they need to win their conference tournament, Conference USA, to get into the dance. Any thoughts on this line? It's 7 in favor of UAB.
You Blue Raiders, if you want Jeremy's email and stuff like that for calling you guys the Red Raiders, I will be glad.
Oh, did I say Red Raiders?
But I think the number's a little bit too high. I mean, this UAB opened up at 4, quickly got bet up to 6. Now it's 7. This is it goes off in a couple hours. I say if you can grab that 7, I think Middle Tennessee State has to be the play here. Give me MTSU.
All right. Raphael Esparza with mybookie.ag. Any thoughts on who wins the Players' Championship?
If they play, because it's not only supposed to rain today, but you know what? It's supposed to rain tomorrow. That's one thing why us handicappers and odds makers, why we just don't like golf. Because if there's a one rain delay, it just messes up the whole weekend.
Here's the good news. Now you can focus on basketball while it just
Florida.
And then we can watch the end on like Monday or Tuesday.
4 buckets in St. Augustine. Keep on raining.
Keep that rain down there. We haven't seen the sun in 4 days here, so would be nice to pop out at some point in time. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, Raphael. Next week we will. I did text you, right? We're going to go early next week, so we'll everybody but we're looking forward to that. We'll kick off the dance with you next Thursday and Friday. Thank you.
Take it easy, guys.
Raphael Esparza with mybookie.ag. It is halftime in Tampa. Auburn has 21 points. A&M big, 37-21 at halftime over the 4th-ranked Auburn Tigers. Wow. And Indiana, with about 11 and some change to go in the second half, they have a 5-point lead on Illinois. Surprising stuff. We'll keep our eyes on it as we roll through the final hour of our work week. Up next on the other side of the break, we're going to slide to the diamond. The boys are back in baseball, and Cory McCartney is going to tell you what happened to get them there right here on the JB and Goldwater Show. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and 2 others you probably don't think much about. Stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back 9 is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
Final hour on this pretty dreary Friday. Final hour of the work week as well. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show, presented by Motley Rice and driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Thanks to Raphael Esparza in that last segment. We've got more hoops coming your way, including what happened yesterday down at the Citadel. Dover Balcom is out. That is, Darren, I can't wait to get your thoughts on that one. That was strange. That was unfortunate there. What a great guy. This guy's pretty good too. Cory McCartney, and he is much smarter than I am. I know that. I've been trying to follow all this big league stuff for the last few weeks, and I whatever. That's why you're here. Cory's going to tell us how the boys are back in town baseball. Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good now, right? We're gearing up for late spring training, and looks like, did I hear this right? They're going to salvage 162 games?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they're going to cram this in. There's going to be a lot of double headers. The Braves obviously getting their they were going to be on the road to open these things up. Now they're going to be April 7th against the Reds is going to be the home opener. 2 days later, April 9th, they're going to get their rings. So it's going to be a big first weekend at Truist Park as we open up the 2022 season. But yes, somehow it's funny, right? You know, there were all these deadlines, and if it can't get done by this time, we're not playing 162 games. And all of a sudden, you get settled, and guess what? We're playing 162 games.
Hogwash, huh? It was all hogwash, trying to get everybody moving to get to a deal. All right, so just lay it out. I don't know where to start. So what did they agree on yesterday? What did the players get? What did the owners get? Where did they meet in the middle? Just whatever you know, spill the beans. We'll go from there.
Okay, so the CBA is for 5 years, so don't get too excited about this. I mean, it's from 2022 until 2026. I think you can look at it from both ends and see wins from both sides. The players' real push on this was to help out the younger players. They got a higher minimum salary. They got that pre-arbitration pool, which never existed before. They asked for over $100 million. It went down. They ended up getting $50 million. So that'll be for, players who win awards, who are, among the players with not enough service time. So they got that done. They got, at least the potential end to draft pick compensation for players who get qualifying offers. That's contingent, though, on an international draft and the framework of that getting worked out by July 25th. They got a higher luxury tax threshold, which they really wanted. They got a draft lottery for the top 6 picks, which, they hope will curb tanking. But on the flip side, I mean, the league got a lot of things they wanted. They got an expanded postseason. They wanted 14 teams. They're getting 12. They were still able to keep the framework for player control under wraps, so you're not going to see guys reach free agency any faster. They at least, as I mentioned, got at least partially their long sought after international draft. We'll see how that sorts it out. And they got a universal DH and patches on uniforms. So in negotiations we talk about winners and losers, but I think there were a lot of things on both sides of this where you looked at it and said, it really was a compromise. I think, certainly the players really wanted to get guys to free agency faster, but, they saw the minimum salary go from $570,500 a year ago to $700,000 in 22. Wow. As I mentioned, they got that pre-arb pool that didn't exist. They got $50 million that guys will figure out. Well, it's not been sorted out how that's going to be doled out or how that's going to work, but certainly from the players' end, they wanted guys to get paid when they're getting utilized, and that's going to happen.
Okay, so let's put this in layman's terms for some people that don't understand, because I have actually received multiple texts from people who just watch and listen to our program, and they ask me what all these things are, and I say I can't text you all this. What is arbitration? And give us an example of how this pre-arbitration pool will be utilized.
So we don't exactly know how the pre-arbitration pool is going to be utilized yet. I think the thought process is that, say, Ronald Acuna Jr. wins Rookie of the Year, the year that he wins it, and he's able to, as still a guy who's making, he's making the league minimum, he's able to get pool money from an additional pool there, and he's able to get some extra money that way. And also they worked it in where if a player is first or second, if they haven't said first or second, but if a guy is, within a certain threshold of voting, that they're going to get a full year of service time. So you think about, Acuna showing up in May, the year that he shows up, he's going to get a full year of service time. Within that's happening within the first 2 years of a guy's career. So that's going to be a big piece of it. Certainly, you think about arbitration, a guy is under club control for 6 years. He's able to, the last 3 years of that, he's able to go out and negotiate his salary each and every year. He offers what he thinks he should get. The club comes back at him. They either, pick one side or they take it to an arbitrator, which is, we've seen that the Rays are largely a file and trial team. So they make their offers. And if the player doesn't accept it, then they're going on to a trial. So they have a number of guys who are in that process right now. But that's kind of how the arbitration works. I think it's going to be really interesting, though, to see how this money is pushed out, because we've seen a lot of young guys come up, have made a really big impacts very quickly. You think about Chris Bryant when he came up, and certainly service time was a major issue with him. I think this is going to potentially curb a lot of those issues.
That's a great point. And we've seen the timeline for many of the great players, young players in the game, the timeline to get there decrease over the years. It's the speed in which they're getting to the big leagues has increased. I guess they're just better players, and they're ready sooner. A lot of these guys are coming from college baseball. So can you describe as well, Cory, what options are? Because I don't think some people understand what happens when you've got a guy who's run out of options, especially if you're cracking into the big leagues, and how this would affect that type of what you mentioned, the Chris Bryant situation, but he's one of many that have gone through this over the years.
Yeah, I mean, that's how, we think about the Braves having, the Atlanta Braves and the Gwinnett Stripers so close to one another. They would have guys shuttling back and forth, but you're only going to be able to do that. You're only able to do that so many times. A guy only has so many times in which they can be optioned on to a lower league. And once you hit that criteria, you have to put a guy on waivers and make him, someone that another team can swoop in and take. So I think, certainly they're trying to protect people from that end as well. So certainly, a lot of stuff at play here, and it's all about, protecting those guys who are still in that time of their career where they're more likely to be optioned. You can't say more, too many words.
More optionable
together. More optionable.
That's right. I thought you were going optionable.
I don't know. I don't think that's a word. But hasn't that been like one of the main arguments for the players is, look, we want to have more control over ourselves sooner. They've been under the control of their organizations for what they feel has been much too long to start their career.
Yeah, and that's why they were trying to fight to get the framework of these arbitration years and get a quicker path to free agency opened up, and that was just a non-starter, for the teams at all. So I think the other side of that was, okay, if we're not going to completely open, and that's that could completely derail, the entire system that as we currently see it, having that $50 million for them to potentially pull from for the guys who are performing well and have performed well, and make sure those guys are getting that additional year of service time if they do well enough in votes. I will say there's the other side of it here is being a member of the Baseball Writers Association, where now they're putting the onus on the writers in these votes. I voted on award before. Now we're going to be the ones responsible for whether or not these guys potentially are getting service time. I think that's going to be a pretty wild part of this. The BBWA was brought in basically into these negotiations without any credence or without any consultation. But that's certainly part of it as well.
Is that a good thing? Because couldn't it then easily be, arbitrary? Basically, I mean that you guys are going to decide based on the criteria that you come up with, and there's going to be a lot of debate who gets it, who doesn't, right?
Hey, there are 900 plus guys a year who decide who's going into the Hall of Fame. And you can't say, we're able to decide who belongs in this Hall of Immortals, but we can't decide whether or not this guy, is worthy of getting an additional year of service time. I mean, you can't have it both ways.
That's fair.
That's fair. Cory McCartney in Atlanta, 1:15 on a Friday afternoon. All right, Cory, another descriptive question here. Describe the luxury tax and what it stands for in baseball.
So basically it's a soft cap, right? You think about every other league has a hard cap. If you're in the NBA, they have a luxury tax. You go over that, you're paying, dollars on top of it, but everybody understands there's a actual salary cap, and these teams are working within that. In baseball, they've got a competitive balance tax. It's going to go from $230 million in 2022 up to $244 million by the end of this CBA. It's going from $210 million in the 2021 season to $230 in this upcoming season. We saw a lot of teams. There were 5 teams last year that tiptoed around that. They were within $5 million of that $210 million figure because these teams don't want to pay taxes on the additional money that you're going over that. So, certainly you've got guys like Steve Cohen who don't care, and they basically set up a 4th tier of what the penalty system is going to be for a guy like him, because he could care less whether or not he has to pay taxes on it. But those mid-market teams, guys, or smaller market teams like the Pirates, the Orioles, the Marlins, those teams that really have no interest in it, this is at least giving them more money to play with. I ultimately don't know what this is really going to change, because I think I always kind of think of teams operating in a luxury tax system kind of akin to NASCAR, right? You're going to have your build for your car, and you're going to go right up against whatever the millimeters are that are going to give you an edge. These teams are going to go up to this to the point where they're not going to go over it and get as good as they can without going over it. So I think until they get to a point where they say you have to spend this minimum amount, and the players don't want an actual salary cap, which the owners would love, I just don't know that this is ever really going to operate quite the way that they want it to.
It is a really strange situation, because like you mentioned the Steve Cohen situation. So if he doesn't care about going over the threshold and paying the tax, but then these mid-major organizations.
You guys are both doing great.
Hey, Sally sells seashells by the seashore, so at least I got through one today.
I could probably say that easier. They do. It still seems like, obviously, if you don't care about paying the tax, you have the money, so it doesn't matter. So the competitive advantage is going to be there no matter what. I'm not sure what this really does.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of threw this out on Twitter the other day, and I really think that the league would benefit from following something along the lines that the MLS does. The MLS has these designated players, right? And the teams pay X amount of this player's salary, and up to a certain threshold, the league picks up the rest of it. And if it goes in excess, it goes back to the team. I just think that would at least be a way for a Pirates or the Marlins to go out and, really feel like they could get a guy like a Carlos Correa and know that, okay, once it goes over this part, we've got to pick it up, but the league is going to pick up a certain percentage or a certain, part of his salary. I think if they had, it's almost like kind of like the franchise tag on an NFL team, except the league would be picking up a certain percentage of what that salary is. I just think baseball loves to be able to have the system in which their players don't have to be held to the same, criteria that these other leagues are, and in which there's an actual cap, and these guys are a little bit more, structured in what they're able to make. But, I think, this is only the last 5 years. Right? I think the one thing you could say, the mission for them on this time, because they felt like they got beat down so bad the last 2 CBAs, is they got the young players money. So whether or not this fixes the system and it makes teams stop tanking, or it makes teams more willing to spend money, at the end of the day, what they wanted to do was get the young guys money, and that at least worked.
All right, Cory, let's get on the field here. Let's talk about the things that people are actually going to see. They're gonna wonder what in the heck's going on. I guess we're not going to see. Well, we wouldn't have seen anyways. We're not going to see ghost games, right?
No, so the 12 team postseason format is going to have the top two division winners are going to get first round buys. Then you're going to have 2 3-round games, and then those top two will slide back in against the winners of those teams.
Okay, so this idiotic idea that we're going to just give somebody a game advantage is okay. So that's gone. All right, that's good. All right, they are going to eliminate shifts in baseball, right?
No. So not yet. So that's an interesting thing you bring up there. So this will start in 2023. That there's going to be a 45-day window in which the league can implement further rule changes. But there's going to be almost like a council that's going to go over what these rule changes are going to be. It's going to include some players, some officials, some people from clubs. But more than likely, I would say next year you're probably going to have a pitch clock. You're probably going to have banned shifts. You're probably going to have larger bases. But that 45-day window for that stuff is the 2023 maneuver, not for 22.
So it's not set in stone yet. That pitch clock and the bigger bases, and that's not set in stone.
No, it's not. So that I think the thought is it's going to happen. It's going to happen, but it's not going to happen until next year. But they have to give them a 45-day run up. So you think about the 3-batter minimum and all that stuff that kind of just felt like it got thrown on to the players. This is at least going to be a little bit more leadway. They're going to have a year and change here to figure this thing out.
Well, whatever they do, don't adopt this idiotic college baseball rule that says when you are in the stretch on the rubber that you can't step off without throwing to a bag. I mean, guys get bugs in their eyes. They maybe get a groin itch. I don't know. Maybe they couldn't see the sign that was put down and they got crossed up and they want to step off and make sure that they don't throw 95 when their guy behind the plate is expecting 80, But you get a ball called on you if you do that now in college baseball. Yeah. Let's not do that in the big leagues so we don't get somebody killed when a 100-mile-an-hour fastball comes flying in and they're not expecting it. Any detail on the shift situation, Cory? Because I'm a little confused as to how they are going to determine whether a team is quote-unquote shifting or not. Now, if you see a third baseman playing second base, I get it. If you see a second baseman playing shortstop, that makes sense. But how are you going to tell a left fielder he can't play squarely in the gap, or a third baseman he can't play in the 5-hole, or a second baseman he can't play up behind the bag? Because we've seen that forever in baseball. That's not really a shift. That's just playing to a scouting report.
Yeah, my understanding is what's going to happen is you're going to have basically like a neighborhood rule for a base, right? Like, so how far from second base can a second baseman play to his right? How far can a shortstop go to second base from his left? Like, how much are we going to see that kind of limited? And I'm sure, just like everything else we talk about in terms of player spending and all that stuff, team spending, you're going to see, they're going to know exactly where that limit is. And that's where they're going to go. That's going to become the new shift, right? If a shortstop is only allowed to go to the top corner of the bag, that's where he's going to be. Whatever it is, it's going to be the new variation of what it is. I think they're just trying to get away from this extreme nature, where you're seeing, a third baseman, playing so far left, that you think he's, that he's playing second base. I think they're just trying to get away from that kind of the crazy shifts that we've seen for guys like Joey Gallo.
Okay. Fair. We're trying to shorten games here, right? In that whole goal of baseball these days, let's not play marathons, and we're going to have some measuring tape umpire who's going to pop out of the dugout all of a sudden and go, you're 3 inches over, pal. It's going to take 5 minutes to measure this thing, and then what are we going to do? We're going to pull him out of the game? I mean, what's the penalty? I mean, what are they going to do?
Gang. Y'all have a chain gang that'll run out, just like in football, and they'll run it out, and they'll see, and Spurrier will throw his visor if he's too far over. And
I'm still not comprehending how they're going to make sure that some of this doesn't happen, or what they're going to. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you just going to stop the game and say you have to move back over there? And what if he's a repeat violator? Are you going to put him in timeout? What are they going to do?
I don't know. It's all a good question. I mean, maybe there'll be a penalty box. They only, there's space down there in the camera wells. They can have a penalty box, and then you got to play, 8 guys. A power play. Yeah, it's going to be an MLB power play. So
I mean, this is all right. Now, how large they want to make these bases? Why don't we? I tell you what we should do. Why don't we give them aluminum bats? and throw underhand. It just made the game go. I mean, everybody.
I honestly, to be honest with you, though, I always think about when we talk about enlarging the bases, I always think about Tim Hudson and that horrible injury that he had with Eric Young Jr. when he stepped on his ankle in that start in New York. When his foot wasn't too far off. Yeah. I always think about like how much it's going to keep player safety in terms of how much I think it's going to help, in terms of guys being able to steal more bases. But maybe you just make first base just that much. Or you do like they do in softball, and you have two of them.
They're doing it right because they want to increase stolen bases. If you increase the bag by, I don't know, a couple inches, does that really increase stolen bases or people trying to go?
I don't think so. I mean, look at, I don't think
they're not trying to steal bases, Cory.
Yeah. I mean, last year, there was Starling Marte led the league. I just ran these numbers the other day. Starling Marte led the league last year. I believe he had 42 or 47 bases. And if you take the single season highest stolen base numbers, that's not even in the 200s in terms of how many, it's just not happening. So I just don't know that that's going to be what changes things in terms of how much teams are willing to run.
Maybe, well, we're on to something. See, you should be the commissioner. Maybe we should mandate that teams have to attempt 3 stolen bases per game. if they have minimum, base run. I mean, if you get no hit, there's nothing you can do about it. But you have to try 3 stolen. I'm just kidding. I would never want to.
And if you don't, you can't shift.
So. Oh God.
I mean, this is going to be incredible.
You want to make it more entertaining to the young crowd? Throw in all these rules, right, and just make it like a video game. Like, you do this, and you have to go sit on the outfield wall. No catcher for you.
I think if you want to make it more entertaining for the young crowd, you remake Rookie of the Year. You just hire a bunch of 13-year-olds and let them manage teams, and let's see what happens.
There you go.
And wasn't that Rookie of the Year? No, that wasn't Rookie of the Year. That was Little Big
League.
No,
that was Little Big League. Mm-hmm. Little Big League.
What do you like better, Rookie of the Year or Little Big League? I think I'm a Rookie of the Year guy.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah.
Hot ice.
Yeah.
It's the best of both worlds. Make one way it slides over. All right. What about Freddie?
Mm-hmm.
He has had 99 days to stew on this thing. And, I think you can look at it from a couple different angles, right? He's had 99 days to know what the Braves are willing to do. He has 99 days to know, whether or not they're willing to go to that 6th year. But the other side of it is Alex Anthopoulos has had 99 days to go to Liberty Media and say, he wants year 6. We've got to free up this money because the Yankees and Dodgers, and now we find out the Rays are all, coming after him. So, if it's coming down to that 6th year, I just have a hard time believing that the Braves haven't had enough time to understand that year is worthwhile. But, it's just you're getting into a potential bidding war with, 2 of the marquee franchises in all of professional sports. And, if they go, I know it's the number we've heard is around, 6 at 180, maybe the Braves can go up 6-200. But if you've got the Dodgers, it'll say, we'll go 6-230. Can the Braves match that? I mean, I don't know that they can, and I think the timing of this thing to me is going to be the craziest thing because you're going to have your plan A, which is Freddie Freeman. You're going to have your plan B, which is Matt Olson, your plan C, which is Anthony Rizzo. At what point do you bail on A because you're worried about B happening? And if C comes off the board, are you going to have to move even? I just think that the fact that we're talking about everything happening so quickly now, obviously we haven't had anything happen yet. From my understanding, teams were worried about doing something too quickly last night to maybe the onus of tampering, if it might have been brought up if that had been the case. But we know this thing's going to move quickly. And so the timing of it all, especially with Freeman, one of the biggest names on the market, I think is going to be fascinating.
I think it's incredibly so would Freddie take less money to stay in Atlanta to get the 6th year?
I don't know why he would. I mean, if it comes down to, I understand. I know that having talked to him about this many times, and it's been brought up by everybody else who covers the Braves, he wants to stay in Atlanta. He wants to write that legacy like Chipper Jones. But at the same time, he wanted this to get done before last season. So he sat through spring training waiting for this team to come up with a deal for him. He sat through the season with little to no communication between his representatives and the Braves. He got ready for a lockout that everyone knew was coming and still didn't have a deal in place. If he leaves, this is 100% on the Braves for wasting too much time.
Wow. That's where that was. There you go. You answered the next question. And you know what, Corey? Here's the reality. If it wasn't 100% on the Braves, it wouldn't matter because the public is going to put it on the Braves. They are the losers in this no matter what happens if Freddie Freeman isn't back, period.
Yeah, and look, and I love Matt Olson. I mean, I think if you could get him, it would be a fantastic pickup. He is a more than suitable plan B for this team. But I just can't imagine what the backlash is going to be like if he's putting on Dodger blue come Sunday morning or Monday.
And Freddie's from California, so that might not be.
Yeah, but he grew up an Angels fan, so I don't know if there's animosity there. But he has a house in Santa Monica. His dad lives there. His dad still has a business there. So yeah, I think there's a lot to play it.
Angels in the Outfield was a good baseball movie as well. All right. You didn't like Angels in the Outfield? What are we missing? A couple more, and we're gonna let you run here, brother. But what other big names are we monitoring on the free agent board right now?
I mean, certainly Carlos Correa. I think that's the big one to fall. Whether or not is he gonna? I know there's been talk maybe about the Yankees even swooping in on him. Certainly he's gonna be one to watch. So I'm going to throw this out there. So the Braves were reportedly in talks with Justin Verlander before he signed with the Astros. So I think that tells you the Braves may be in a market for a starting pitcher level that maybe we didn't think that they were. So could they get Clayton Kershaw? Could they get Carlos Rodon on a short term deal? We know they're in the starting pitching market. I think those are two really fascinating names to watch in terms of the Braves because they have a dire need for one more starter because they don't know when Mike Soroka is coming back. They're not 100%, buying in on Wright and Mueller and Tuki Toussaint and those guys being able to claim a rotation spot right now. So that's going to be something to watch for sure.
What about with the implementation now of the DH in the National League? How is that changing the market?
Oh, well, I mean, it's changing a lot for the Braves, right? Because now word is that Marcell Ozuna is going to come back. And I say word is, he's obviously, we know how things have worked out with him in Major League Baseball. We've not heard anything from the Braves. They were not willing to talk about anything with him, until the process had resolved itself. It resolved itself during the lockout. So we've not heard anything from Alex Anthopoulos on this. But if they've got Marcell Ozuna and you've got Ronald Acuna Jr. is probably going to miss about 4 weeks. You've got, Adam Duvall, who you've already tendered a deal to. You got Guillermo Heredia already, is in an outfield spot in a 1-year deal. Can you bring back both Eddie Rosario and Jorge Soler? I don't know that you can bring back both of them. So, but obviously having the DH is going to allow you some flexibility where Ozuna can be in that spot. Adam Duvall can be in that spot. I mean, I think I don't know how this thing's going to play out with them in the outfield. They have a need there too. And the DH certainly allows them a lot more flexibility.
So I must have missed all of that. I did not realize that the Ozuna situation has been resolved. You said it's been
resolved? So Major League Baseball had finished its investigation. Apparently, they believe that the time that he's already been gone is going to serve basically as what would have been any kind of suspension. So the expectation is opening day he's going to be eligible to start if he's still an Atlanta Brave.
Wow, fascinating. Well, it's coming. What are we, a month away now? What's the date? February,
April 7th.
Less than a month.
Well, that's going to be a quick spring training. I hope the boys have been keeping in shape. I know all the former guys that played in South Carolina have been. They've all been in Columbia working out together every day at the Carolina facility. So I'm sure it's been like that around the country.
I'll give you one crazy story about that. I have a friend whose son has been a collegiate baseball player for a long time, and he got a call from one of his college teammates who got a call and said, "Hey, we need you to go catch a bullpen." Didn't know where, didn't know who. And ever since, he's been catching Steven Strasburg in some random place in D.C. as he waits on spring training. It's been going on months now.
Wow. How's Strasburg doing, I wonder?
According to him, looks great. I don't know.
Yeah. That Kershaw situation, I'm be interested to monitor that too, Corey, because you just wonder what Clayton Kershaw is coming next. I mean, we've seen a couple different versions of him. What are we going to get now? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, the dollar figure you're talking about him too. I mean, he's going to command a big figure.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, it's if I'm the Braves and I have my, I'm taking Carlos Rodon and I'm giving him a 2-year deal. But we'll see how this
over Kershaw. Does Kershaw want longer, more years, or more money? Or
I would assume he's going to want more money because I sort of feel like he's going to be in a position where he's got to go back and show he's still Clayton Kershaw. And then you could be talking about maybe a multi-year deal after this year.
Wow. Well, at least it's coming back. Baseball is going to be on Apple on Friday nights, and they're going to have new little stickers on their helmets. So if you want to buy some of that advertising, it's changing quick, guys.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Corey. Well, we look forward to getting you back here pretty soon. Baseball season, you know, we'll use you as much as you'll allow us to. So, welcome home.
All right, fellas, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cory. Man. Cory McCartney in Atlanta, Georgia. He is the best when it comes to talking baseball, Braves, big leagues, whatever. He's got all the answers clearly because I don't. That's why he's here. Really good stuff, Darren. I'm glad we know what's going on and we don't have to see softball bases this year or the shift police.
It's gonna be interesting how that all works itself out, how it's policed. And I don't know if you were. I think I know I was, and I think the general public was under the perception that those things are done for 23. Like those rules are stamped and in for 23. So even though they're probable, that's not true. And that part I did not know.
Yeah, I didn't either. I do have an idea. I do have an idea. I should have brought it up to Cory. He has all the connections to Major League Baseball. He could pass this along to them. We'll put a shift guard out there, kind of like a lifeguard. You know,
I was thinking like a guard on the arm, but yeah, I got you.
You know, and I'm even going to go a little bit further, kind of make it a Baywatch thing. You know, you get them out there in their red bathing suits. Might be a male, might be a female, might be both. And anytime you go over the shift line, someone blows a whistle. Get back off the diving board, sir.
When they decide, like the NFL in the playoffs, to put games on Nickelodeon, they should do that virtually. It's a good idea for the virtual Nickelodeon type telecast.
Blow the whistle. Get away from the deep end. Yeah, get out of left field, boy.
Throw slime on them. Make sure they get back to their position. Just dump slime on them virtually, of course.
Oh man, baseball. I love it so much that it's turning me into psycho. Hearing some of this chaotic crap that they're coming up with. You know, ghost games. How about ghost pitchers? Now on the mound, Warren Spahn. He's been dead for 30 years, so he's a ghost. You're going to have to take a hack, see what happens, son.
We teleported him in. By the way, 60 seconds left. Indiana with a 1-point lead on Illinois.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll let all you catch up on that while we hit a break, and then we'll give you the score of the A&M Auburn game. You won't believe it on the other side. Final segment of the week coming up next. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Hey, South Carolina, what's going on? This is Patrick Davis, and you are listening to my friends JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Papa Top again. Freak. T-G-I-F. Finally, Friday, I'm free again. I got my motor running for a wild weekend. Freak out, yo. Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend.
No, I am. It is a blowout right now with 10 minutes to go in the SEC tournament. A&M, if Auburn's put a couple points up now. It was 20. It's a 16-point lead, 53-37, with about 10 minutes to go in the second half, Darren. So A&M at one point in time had been last 4 in and then first 4 out. Well, as of this morning, because of what they pulled off yesterday against the Gators, they're on the next 4 out. You beat Auburn. Here are the first 4 out, according to Joe Lenardi. SMU, Dayton, Virginia Tech, and Oklahoma. So if you're A&M, obviously you're pulling against anybody that's playing those teams. And Virginia Tech had North Carolina tonight. And Oklahoma, Darren, has Texas Tech. So you got a pretty good shot that both of them could fall in their respective ball games. And then all of a sudden, A&M, I think their net rankings up there in the 50s, somewhere right around Mississippi State, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's 55. They're going to this thing would a neutral site, quad 1 win, right there into the mid-40s, 22 wins.
I don't know how high they jump right into the net. I can tell you they jump into the tournament. Solid right there. If this holds like this, they're killing them. And that holds weight also. And when you talk about teams, if you're debating, right, how you playing down the stretch, A&M's one of the hottest teams in the SEC. Prior to this, they have been playing as one of the hottest teams in the SEC down the stretch. So that they're in. If they continue this, so they just blow them out, chalk it up. They're in.
Yeah. That incredible comeback for.
Meanwhile, Indiana could basically say we're in if they hold off Illinois here. They are up 1. Illinois has the ball with 15 seconds to go.
Yeah. Keep us updated on that. I'm not able to watch it, but I do see that. Who's got it? Illinois has the ball.
Oh, they did until they decided to throw it into the first row. So Indiana has it up 1.
Oh,
with
wow.
11 seconds left.
Yeah, they're gonna go to the free throw line. Wow, incredible. All right, yesterday in local basketball, as we continue to monitor the scoreboard, we'll pass it all on to you. Duggar Balcom was relieved of his duties as a head basketball coach at the Citadel. Darren, I'm not going to, in any way, shape, or form, try to claim myself as some type of Citadel basketball expert. It's a program that I've clearly been around my whole life, and I know enough to know this. There are 4 teams ever who haven't made the dance, and they are one, or maybe 5. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's 4 or 5 teams, and the Citadel's one. I think They've only won 20 or more games, maybe twice ever. And I think you were the voice of the Dogs when they did it one of those 2 times, right? If my mind serves correct.
Both are true.
Duggar is an outstanding person, and his life story is phenomenal. And many maybe remember what happened up in Durham when he kind of fell over this year up there when they were playing the Duke team. It's Darren. I'm gonna kind of lean on you and let you take it from here. I'll just say this: it is. I mean, if you honestly could pick the hardest basketball job in the country, this might be it.
Not might. This is the hardest job in the country, right? You can put it into the mix all you want with others. The Citadel's the hardest job in the country. He earned an extra year last year by having a winning season, so they gave him 1 more year on his contract. This year, this bothers me. It also bothers me I misspelled his name. It's C-O-M if you're watching, not C-U-M. He didn't deserve this. It's impossible. It is impossible to win at the Citadel. He not only had a winning season last year, he also followed it up this year by jumping out of the gates with a win over Pittsburgh. They didn't have a great conference season. They went 6-12, but they were competitive largely. They had their blowouts in there, but they were largely competitive, and they were not an easy out like many Citadel teams have been in the past. Even some early in his tenure, as he was learning how much harder the Citadel is than even VMI, which is viewed as a very similar thing. Who you want to talk about making moves in college coaching? Okay. Who are you going to go get? Who do you think's going to come in there and do a better job than Duggar Balcom, especially right off the bat? I don't have the answer to that. I'll tell you right now that I'll support John Reynolds if he does want that job, because he was the head coach at Presbyterian for a little while, and he is on South Carolina's bench right now. And I remember watching him play at the Citadel, and he loves the Citadel. He's going to have the backing of a lot of folks if he could be in that mix. But I don't know if he's in that mix realistically. Indiana wins 65-63, by the way. This bothered me. I saw this last night, and it bothered me. They did him wrong.
But just side note on that, Indiana's probably firmed themselves into the tournament now. They were considered in. Yeah, I don't really get it. Mike Capiccio is the new athletics director, fairly new athletics director. So I think he's been there for about a year or so, maybe a little over, somewhere in there. And
he may have been there in a lower role, kind of elevated. I think that's the story.
Yeah.
Either way.
You'd like to think that he's got some type of game plan as to, what he wants next and what he wants to see out of this program that he wasn't already seeing under Duggar. And so I hope he's right. I'll say that because, as you mentioned, it's like, I don't know who fits this job. And how do you build a roster at the Citadel? I mean, you do have the transfer portal in play now. So if you go out and you bring in transfers that, they're not going to be knobs. They don't have to, I guess, go through it like that, Darren, because there is a growth process at the Citadel, first and foremost as a human being, secondly as a student, and then third as a student athlete. And so you have to really have a guy that understands the Citadel. I don't know that you have to have a quote unquote Citadel guy, but you have to have somebody that understands the Citadel, everything, how it goes there each day. Darren, I'll say this again. I say I'm not trying to claim to be an expert at the Citadel, but sound like I am, but I don't want it to come off that way. Because I don't really understand it. I got recruited to play at the Citadel, chose not to go there. But you don't really understand what these athletes go through unless you've either gone through it or unless you invest yourself in it to make sure that you understand. There have been plenty of people that have come through the Citadel and they did not do that. Baseball-wise, Freddie Jordan, he got it. Tony Skoll gets it. These guys, they understand it. But you don't actually have to have a Citadel guy. You just need to make sure that whoever runs your program understands what it takes to be an athlete at the Citadel. So I don't know what they're searching for. Is it a young guy? Is it a guy who can tap into the transfer portal and has connections all over the country? I don't know.
That's the question. And I think there's a lot of people scratching their heads at the move and a lot of people questioning levels of the move in terms of why. I agree with you completely that you have to be a Citadel guy, not necessarily wear the ring, but you got to be a Citadel guy. You need to know the ins and outs of this. That's why during the Duggar search, Doug Novak was a very popular name that came up. I supported that as well.
Yeah.
Doug Novak was one of the top assistants under Ed Conroy. He understands how to work within the confines of the Citadel. That didn't actually end up happening. And then obviously Duggar came in with the understanding of a military system. But from everything I understand, there are significant additional challenges at the Citadel that don't actually exist at VMI. The most successful coaches you can think of, like right off the top of your head, you named Fred Jordan. You can throw Ed Conroy into the mix. They're both Citadel grads. So I do think that's a very important step here, that someone, if it's not a grad, understands how to get around. And the other problem is the transfer portal can't be utilized the same way for Citadel. They can tap into it the same. They have the access the same. But because of what the Citadel is, you can't just go be bringing in freshmen and sophomore transfers. That doesn't fly with the core, right? You might be able to get through some hoops and, okay, you're not technically going to have your knob year, but it doesn't really fly when you're inside that core. That's part of the issues and the dynamics as to athletics and athletes at the Citadel and non-athletes at the Citadel. There has been, I don't know how big it is now, but there's been a rift right there. So it's not that easy, like it is in many, many other places, to just go dip into the transfer portal. This bothered me. It's the wrong move. It's absolutely the wrong move.
Yeah, it's and there's obviously a personal effect there, because anybody that's ever met Duggar Balcom, instantly you feel that. You're like, oh no, not Duggar. So I hope he lands on his feet,
especially doing him wrong. Right? Yeah. Like Frank, like when we have conversations with Frank Martin or about Frank, he's a good guy. But if this ends, like, it's going to be hard to make the case, like this is it's been in tenuous waters here. Duggar's been in some tenuous water because he needed that extension from last year. But I don't think nobody saw this coming. And last point about this, the release they put out was awful. It was a Bush League release that had a misspelling. I believe they've corrected it now. That had a misspelling, a typo in the initial line of the release. And in firing their head coach, the headline of the release said he's going to be pursuing other interests. That's not what happened. He didn't go to them and say, I'm pursuing other interests.
No.
There's a lot of this. There are levels of this. That was another part of the AD thing. There are levels of this that stink to me.
That's very propaganda-ish. Very, I mean, you talk about misinformation. That's it.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
You gotta, even if you're not prepared to go in deep about it, when you're contacted for comments, you can't just say no comment.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta say something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty tough there. Pretty tough. Wish Duggar the best. Whatever he does, wherever he goes, wish him the best. Might end up on staff somewhere. Who knows? Just as an assistant coach, and he would be excellent doing that. And you don't have to be in the limelight and worry about all that junk anymore. But he is. If you can coach at VMI, you can coach at the Citadel. You've probably learned enough. It'd be a lot easier to go coach somewhere else and maybe sit on the bench and relay what you learned over the years. So good for Duggar and in doing that if that's what he chooses to do. And good luck to him. Terrible.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That was awful.
A lot of folks locally are scratching their heads like I am.
Yeah. A little over 5 minutes to go in the second half. Auburn got it close. It's a 10-point game now. A&M 56-46 in the lead. We'll continue, obviously, to monitor the Frank Martin situation over the next couple of days. I'm not anticipating anything is going to be out before the fields are set on Sunday evening, so we'll probably have to get through all three of those selection shows, the men's, the women's, and the NIT. And then after that, maybe they'll announce something, maybe they won't. But I just don't think it's going to come over the weekend at this point in time, Darren. And there's really not a whole lot more to say about it. We all know what we've seen. Everybody's got an opinion. I guess the only thing that could really jump out and change anything in this conversation between now and then, which is unlikely to happen, is if you get a commitment from G.G. Jackson. And then how much does that come into the equation? Some people think it shouldn't. Some people think it should. Some people think it should if. Don't know. We just don't know. So we'll see.
And I've said it many times. I'm uncomfortable even tying that together. Like if that's part of his decision-making process too, like that's not fair to him. So, and if you're him, can you make an immediate commitment right now? No one's expecting that, by the way. And you know that. And I'm just reiterating that.
Right.
But you can't, right? Because you need to see what's going to happen. I agree with you. I wouldn't think it happens before any NIT selection or non-selection. And I'm not positive it does happen. I'm not saying that either. But I think you'll hear something, good or bad, or whichever way you want to take it, sooner than later. I just don't think it'll be before the NIT announcement.
And
or
I think
the end of the season overall.
By the way, I think you made a really good point. One of the last things, and I do not think at all that this is something that Frank Martin would want, but it's certainly, publicly it could look this way. And I'm not going to speak for Frank, but I think we all understand Frank. I don't think he would want it this way. But what you don't want is a scenario where you're looking for a recruit to save a coach's job. That's not fair to that kid.
No.
So you don't do that.
And even like Gigi's not dumb. He's aware of what's happening.
Yeah,
he has people talking to him. He's well aware of his impact on this whole situation. And that's unfortunate for him. It really is.
It is. It is. Not much happening on the National Day calendar. It is National Promposal Day. So any of you that have teenagers that haven't figured out a date for their prom this year, you better smack them on the rear end and get them moving. If you don't ask today, it might be a little bit too late. So happy National Promposal Day. Like this guy that tweeted at me last night about, I guess he thinks I make excuses for Frank because of COVID. That kid probably is in high school. So happy promposal to you, whatever your name is.
I didn't know that was a word.
Not worthy of a response. That's for sure.
I didn't know promposal was a word, but
it's a day at least. I don't know if it's a word, but it's a day.
Okay.
Gamecocks looking to rebound on the baseball field as well. We all know what the task is against Texas. Our post-up careers, Carolina, Texas resumes are on the board here. The Gamecocks come in at 7-5 and really reeling. They've lost 4 straight after the sweep against Clemson. We all know that Xavier took it to them in their own house on Tuesday at Founders Park. That batting average was about 320 going into the Clemson series. Just dropped almost 40 points. Texas is 12-2. Texas is 5-0, as Darren has pointed out in this resume, versus the SEC this season. And that's a typical Texas resume right there. When Texas is good, they're not hitting 310, 320, 330. They're a 280, 290 type team. They're a sub-2 ERA type program, and they field it really well. And that's exactly who they've been. They just did get upset by Texas State, and I think they got beat by UCLA last weekend as well in that Shriners Classic, Darren. But those are their only 2 losses of the year. And again, if you missed the news, it's a double dip on Sunday. 1 game tomorrow, double dip Sunday at Founders Park because of the weather. That doubleheader will be a pair of 9s. So they will play 18 on Sunday. You ask, how can they do that? Why can they do that? Because Texas isn't going home. They're coming here, as a matter of fact. They got the College of Charleston on Tuesday and the Citadel on Wednesday. So maybe the Dogs and the Cougs will luck up because they're going to get them on some short rest without Tanner Witt.
Yeah, man, staying a week away from home. I mean, who wants to be around Charleston and South Carolina and the struggle that's going to be? I mean, Austin's really nice. There have been personal endorsements of Franklin Buchanan and post-up careers on the show this week and last week. So we remind you, if you're looking to improve your career, LinkedIn optimization, get a resume that gets in front of people and gets you hired, then just go to postupcareers.com because that's exactly what Franklin Buchanan does.
He's somebody else I know mentioned him to me. He's really good.
He's good
at what he does. So Franklin, if you're listening, first of all, thank you for being part of our program as one of our partners, but thanks for what you do just for people. That's really neat. Post up careers. So that is that's the way it looks there. Again, the rest of the baseball slate this weekend: Canisius at CSU, Siena at the Citadel, UMass Lowell at the College of Charleston. All of those are going to start on Saturday. They're all double dips tomorrow as well. And Northeastern is at Clemson. Don't sleep on them. Northeastern swept NC State last weekend. Xavier is at Coastal Carolina, and they've been playing since 11 o'clock this morning. And before we run, I tell you what I'll do. I will be so kind to pass along a score to you if I can get it to pull up here. Maybe I can't.
58-49 A&M, but I don't think that's what you were looking for.
No. Hey, Xavier's got an 8-5 lead on Coastal in the 8th inning. So thanks to the Gamecocks, Xavier's playing good baseball now.
There you go. See, that would be a good trip down south for Xavier.
Yeah, naturally.
Naturally.
All right. We're out of here. That was a great. If you missed the conversation today with Cory McCartney on baseball being back, you need to check it out.
You do.
He's got it all figured out. Nick, you're right. I misread that earlier. Game 1 is 7. Game 2 is 9. So who does that help? It helps South Carolina. They don't have enough arms.
That's true.
If I was Coach Kingston, I'd have been going for a 3 and a 5 inning game.
We'll play one game. Just count it as 2.
That's right. Thanks to all of you. Make sure you've downloaded our app and check out the vintage brands. It's right there on the front screen. Whatever team you pull for, go buy something fun and new, but old. You'll see what I'm saying when you see it. Have a wonderful weekend, boys and girls. Head to the Dog and Duck to watch basketball. We'll see you Monday.
Is muddy, can't get to the door. I'll take my jack.